Testing, testing.
See it, you believe it. So I've got a special guest today. Abisay, would you work your way up here? A lot of times as we do training and coaching, it's, hey, this guy's really good and he does this. So that's part of me talking as the professor or the teacher today. But this is one of my favorite students. His name's Abisay, and it took me 12 months to learn how to say his name properly, but I did learn how to say it. Abisay works, he's a colleague with some of you, but he works for Winco. I don't know what the heck he does, but I think he's really good at it, and I'd like to work for him. But Abisay, the reason I had you come here, and part of the reason I did the exercise, is if you see it, you believe it. So if Len said to me, hey, Dave, I want you to go to this management class, it's really good. Now, there's a couple things that would be going through my mind. One is, how long does it take? I'm busy. Number two, what's this guy know about it? Number three, hey, I'm really good at what I do. Why do I need to go to a class? Am I in trouble? So I don't know if Abisay was necessarily that particular individual, but Abisay, will you share kind of your first day in class to where you are now, and probably more than anything, how this 12 months helped you with Winco, and what I'm really underlying is communication with your team. Good job. This is really my Abisay, I would always ask, and I will ask all of you, hey, what's your takeaway? So I'm going to ask you when we're done, what's your number one takeaway? And I remember one you said, I went back and worked on my team, and I think there was 3 or 4 people. Kind of share that story. Is one of them here today, Brenda? Is that right? Okay. So kind of share that story. Okay. And if you were sitting in their seat, kind of like what Scott, what would be, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel, what would your coaching be as far as whether it's taking notes, whether it's implementation right away, what would, and I just want it to be one thing, the one thing if you said, hey, I'm going through this course again, the one thing I'm really going to focus on is. All right. Can we give Abisay a hand today? I really appreciate his time. What I appreciate about Abisay was the fact that he is a true learner. And as I go through the training, there's a group of, some of us are what we call hostages. Well, we had to come. Our boss told us we've got to be here. Some are vacationers. Hey, it sounds like fun, and I get out of work for 3 hours a month. But in terms of the true learners, Abisay, and I'm not sure he's such a nice guy, so I couldn't, he may not even like me, but he sure acts like it, does an excellent job because he's such a nice guy. But what I really appreciate was he took it back, implemented, and then came back and told us the success stories. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I became a manager, I managed like my dad did. Get your room cleaned and hurry up. And I thought that's how you're supposed to manage. And I realized that some people didn't like to be managed that way. I want to give Len a quick plug, not only because he's my boss, but what's real important, I hope you guys appreciate this. How many of you know Val Davis? Do any of you guys know Val in HR? Some of you go, I heard about her, I don't want to meet her, but Val and I went to college together, so I've known her for a long time. But all the time I've talked to her, she's always, I've had like 4 or 5 jobs in 1 year, and she's worked for the same company. I go, Val, how come? And she says they believe in training, they believe in coaching and mentoring, and I give Len that credit as well, because the fact that you guys work for a company that says we want to help you to help others, and in essence grow the company. So Len, I really appreciate that about your company, that you're constantly saying what tools can, because I don't know about you guys, there's no place I've ever worked where they gave me too much time off or they paid me too much money. Have any of you guys worked at those places? Okay. But I certainly appreciate the fact that they'll coach and train and help me, because I can raise my hand and tell you the places, Jacob, that I worked where they said, oh, figure it out on your own. So along that line. So real quick before we start, I'm going to have you write down your hometown. Okay, and this isn't going to be a test. Hey, let's give Len a big hand before he goes. He doesn't get these very often. Thanks, Len. We appreciate you. Okay, so you're just going to write down your hometown, your biggest fear, and something we may not know about you. Okay? Now, don't worry. This isn't, we're going to learn about the different personalities, but you're not going to be tested. You're not going to be judged or anything on this. And if you're wondering, well, I was kind of a military brat, just use the hometown where you're born. So I was born in Great Falls, Montana. It was named by Lewis and Clark because of the Great Falls. They had the portage around. My biggest fear is flying. And I shouldn't say flying, Kelsey, but I'm afraid of heights. And I'm usually on a plane every weekend. So that's a little bit of a challenge for me. So I've learned if I fly at night. And something you may not know about me, I was speaking last week in Austin, and they introduced me that because I have a Heisman Trophy vote. Now, that's a big deal in Austin. A lot of you might go, what the heck's the Heisman? So that may not be any big thing here, but that may be something you may not know about me. And then last line, how do you like to be communicated with? Do you like a phone call? Do you like a text? Do you like an email? Or it might be, don't even communicate with me. Now, this has nothing to do with us sending you information, me sending you anything. I'm just curious how you guys like to be communicated with. Because my wife, she likes to use text. I don't like text. My son, he doesn't want to be communicated with. But and then my daughter likes real life phone calls. So just for fun, we'll put that down. Okay? And then I'm going to kind of have you team up here. Kelsey, are you like the boss or something? Nobody wants to sit by you. I'm not sure what the heck the deal is. So, yes, absolutely. So, Matt, I'm going to just have you slide over here just so Kelsey doesn't feel so left out. And really, Matt, that's not the real reason, but I need you to team up in twos. So here's what you're going to discuss. When it comes to communicating with others, and in particular in your company, whether it's communicating up or communicating down, what's your biggest challenge? So you'll be in teams of two. So you two. For some of you, it'll be a chance to meet Laura. I want to introduce you to Eric. Eric, I want you to meet Laura. Good chance for you to meet up Brenda and Jacob. When it comes to communicating either up, down, or just in general in the, whether it's Winco, whether it's your automotive location where you're working, what's the biggest challenge? So go ahead and take about 3 minutes on this. Some of you will have to talk, so it'll be interesting along that line. So what's your biggest challenge when it comes to communicating? And it's okay to talk now. For some of you, it might be, well, talking. So you'll be working as a team on this. So Kelsey, share with Matt, what's your biggest challenge? Matt, what's the biggest challenge when it comes to communicating? I kid you. You're out of class. I need your bottled water back there. All right. Can you bring me one, please? Perfect. Thank you so much. My wife sent me with some kind of lemon water or something. It's horrible. Okay, about 2 more minutes. So if the other person hasn't had a chance to converse, just flip it around. About 2 more minutes. All right, 60 seconds. 60 seconds. So Jody, what was yours? Your guys' biggest when it comes to communication? If you said my workplace, yeah. Oh, lack of. Yeah. Becomes a big thing. I like that. Kim, how about for you? Biggest challenge communication wise? Okay. One on one. So if you have to get in a group, what does that look like? Okay, excellent. All right, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right, I'll count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, a lot of great conversation. Appreciate that. Alice, I'm going to start with you today, if that's okay. Where's your hometown? Okay, and I assume that's like a port to the ocean, is that right? West of Seattle. Okay. And Alice, what would you say is your biggest fear? When you're on your bike, I feel the same way. I'm always like, man, I don't know how that happens. And Alice, how do you like to be communicated with? Just out of curiosity. Okay. Text or email. Excellent point. Yeah. Alice, real quick, in the office place, the workplace, what would you say is the biggest challenge when it comes to communication? Uh huh. Okay. Okay. Yeah, excellent point. How do they? Remember earlier I talked about Lewis and Clark and Great Falls. I used to talk about walking in somebody else's shoes, but they talk about walking in their moccasins because you feel the rocks and you feel. So I'll always say that to people. Go, well, until you've walked in their moccasins, they go, what are you talking about? So you can feel all the rocks and elements along that line. Matt, what's something that we may not know about you? Musician. Very good. And any particular, typically when you say musician, you can play everything. A particular instrument? Keyboards. Excellent. And how do you like to be communicated? Email works best. Okay. What did you and Kelsey, what was kind of your discussion about communication in the workplace? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Timely, concise, absolutely. We're going to slide over here. Jody, you shared a story. Um, I always say, I kind of stole this from you, but I made it up while you're talking. I said, bad news isn't like wine. It doesn't get better with time. Kind of share your story about when you said, hey, if they just tell me, share that with everybody. Yeah. So big that you don't know. Hopefully you guys can see this screen okay, and if you can, I'll have Paul turn the first, just turn the front light. If it's no, the back one there. Okay. So people like people who are like them. I found this slide the other day, and I was training somewhere, and Jody, they did just what you did. They giggled. So I was like, I think I'll start using this slide. So there's no particular reason, but our mission here today is I want you to discover your personality because, I'm a legend in my own mind. I'm the best communicator in the world. Just ask me. However, if you ask my family, Jody, they do a lot of what you said. Well, why didn't you tell me? Well, I did. Didn't you hear me? So a lot of those type of things happen. So as we go through the slides, I'm going to give you particular points to write down. But this would be one that people like people that are like them or like people who communicate how they want to be communicated with. I was working with Zamzos yesterday, and one of the pieces I shared with them was the golden rule. Chris, do you go by Christopher or Chris? Christopher. Do you know what the golden rule says about how you're supposed to treat people? Like you want to be treated. Well, here's something I'm going to throw at you. So this first thing I'd encourage you to write down, this is the platinum rule. Treat people how they want to be treated. Because if Christopher treats Kimberly how he wants to be treated, Kimberly, just for fun, I want you to shake Christopher's hand, like you're meeting him for the first time. So, Christopher, I want you to meet Kimberly. Shake her hand. Okay. What'd you think of that handshake? Big, little intimidating. Okay. And Kimberly loves to speak in groups. That's her favorite thing. She likes to get in the front of the room and speak, and all of a sudden Christopher comes up and goes, how you doing? Let's get up here. Because Christopher, I don't know about you, but I think our dads were similar because we were trained good, solid handshake. Yeah, absolutely. But for some people, that can intimidate them. It's not a bad thing, but we have to treat people how they want to be treated. So that's kind of our mission today as we go through. So I want you to go back into your group. What did your parents teach you about money? And the reason I put this up is this red barn is on our family homestead. It was built in 1913 by both my great-granddad on my dad's side and my great-granddad on my mom's side. So it's kind of a cool piece of history. It still stands, but I'm going to share with you the story of what I was taught about money. And then I'm going to have you go back in your group and what were you taught about. But the number one thing I was taught is don't talk about it. And if you have any, certainly don't tell anybody. So if you have money, don't talk about it. And if you don't ask somebody how much land they own. Now think about this for me, Ben. I'm a sales trainer. I'm a coach and trainer. I have to talk to strangers every day. And sometimes I have to ask them for money. And think about what that darn red barn did to me. Don't talk to strangers and don't ask about money. So go back in your group. What did your parents teach you about money? Now I know some parents, like my mom, hey, when we run out, let's get another credit card. My dad, we only buy in cash. So you got to see what our household looks like, right? My dad, we only buy in cash. My mom, we run out and get a new credit card. They're only 3.9 APR, okay? So what did your parents teach you? Paul, I'm going to have you flip that light back on. We'll spend about 3 minutes on that. I just got tired and left them. Okay, about 90 more seconds. If your partner hasn't shared, make sure everybody gets to share in this story. All right, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right, 15. Paul, I'm going to have you clip that light too, just so I can tell the story. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the reason I put this barn up is my grandparents went out and they farmed this land. My great-grandparents came through and homesteaded it. And they had a gasoline tractor. It was a Model G. I think it was a Minneapolis Moline. The reason it was Model G, it ran off gas. And it went roughly, I think this is right, it went 6 miles an hour and it covered 12 feet with a plow. Now, they farmed roughly 3,000 to 4,000 acres. So all summer long, my granddad would ride this tractor, working all their land. So he wanted to get a bigger tractor, and let's see, they didn't come out and help, but here's the bigger tractor. This is, I went out and took a picture, but this is the Model G 705. It's a diesel tractor. So it goes 2 miles an hour faster, and it does 2 more feet. Now, back over here in this corner is where my great-grandparents lived, my great-grandparents. Now, I'm going to go back to this slide. They hid the tractor. They parked it there. They hid the tractor because their folks lived directly a mile that direction. They hid that tractor there so they wouldn't see it, all right? Ben, why do you think my grandparents hid that tractor from their parents? What would your guess be? Okay. Do you think it was because they didn't want them to think they were spending money, they were being deceitful, or maybe just they got something new and they didn't want them to? Okay. So extravagant. Brenda, how about you? Why did my grandparents hide this darn tractor behind the barn? Oh, yeah, sure. And that's kind of the saying that we have in our family is hide the tractor behind the barn. You don't tell anybody. Okay? We hide the tractor. Now that's probably not the case with any of you. Your family's open with everybody and we tell them everything there is to tell them. The irony is my son who's 18, my daughter prods me more. She goes, Dad, why are you hiding the tractor behind the barn? But my son went out and helped my dad. He's got a couple acres, and he was out weed eating, and my dad gave him a $100 bill. Now, Christopher, I'd never seen a $100 bill when I was that age, but he gave him a $100 bill, and my dad said to Carson, "Don't tell anybody." Okay, now the reason I share that with you, here's what the tractor looks like today. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Here's what the tractor looks. Oh, there. Okay. Here's what the tractor looks like today. There you go. There's today's tractor. That's my dad standing by the tractor. Okay? It's a lot bigger, but guess what? Guess what happened when I drove this tractor? Guess what my dad told me after I drove it? No, that's a good point. There you go. He said, don't tell anybody. So naturally, what's my personality style? It's based on don't tell anybody. Well, be careful the kind of car you drive, all the things, because I spend a lot of time, Laura, I read other people's minds. Okay? I always, oh, I wonder what they're, oh, I know they're mad at me. Oh, I know. Because, right, we figured all that. Read their minds because nobody talks about anything. They hide the tractor behind the barn. Laura, on that note, real quick, tell us where your hometown is. Oh, wow. I think we played you my senior year. I'm from Post Falls. Um, Laura, what would your biggest fear be? Ah, congratulations, boy or girl? Boy, what's his name? All right, congratulations. How do you like to be communicated with? Okay, okay, sure. Face to face, I like that. Laura, I'll be interested to hear what's your parents or what did you learn about money growing up? Maybe you guys had some version of a tractor too. I have no idea. What did you learn about money? Okay. And share with everybody if they're not familiar, the rand would be our version of the dollar. Is that correct? Okay, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, so we'll just use that. Don't stress about the money. Now, Alejandro, just because I wanted to say your name, isn't that a cool name, Alejandro? All right. Um, share with me what you were taught about money. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Jacob, how about on your end? By the way, where's your hometown? Okay. And what's something we might not know about? Oh, wow. See, I took third grade for 3 years in a row, so it took me a little longer. So Jacob's kind of rubbing it into me. Jacob, what'd you learn about money? Oh, okay. All right. Is anybody related to my mom? If you run out of money, just get another credit card, or is my mom the only one that? Oh, good, Paul. I'm glad. I was the only one. I don't know. Yeah. Now, does it say Eric on yours for a reason? Oh, okay. So I was just because I thought, have you ever done that? Called somebody a name? I'm like, I swear it's Paul, but maybe I goofed up. So, all right. So, Paul, what did you share with the story about either your mom or dad that, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. She's the curmudgeon. She ruins everything, right? Yeah. I mean, for crying out loud. Yeah. ended up the same way. Yeah. The nice thing is you don't have a big stack of debt waiting for you at the end of the mountain. So the only reason I bring this up, I'm not Dave Ramsey, but I play him on the radio. No, I'm just kidding. But just to learn where you get your behaviors, because what we're going to talk about today is how we communicate. And we're also going to talk about the 4 different personalities. So the reason I put this up is when you're in person. So Alice, when you met me today, when I asked a question, you're like, he's going to call on me. He seems kind of loud and big and all that stuff. And so you determined, before I even spoke a word to you, my language. And I always coach people that in the first 7 seconds when you walk in the door, people already determine whether or not they like you before you even speak a word. So it's real important when you're managing your team is to think about what your body language is. What does it look like? Now, you may not have a boss like this, but I've had a couple that when I walk in the door, I can tell it's going to be a bad day. And Christopher, guess who I think they're mad at? Me. What'd I do? And I spend all day, oh, what'd I do? Are they going to whack me today? Did I, what? And then I find out they got a speeding ticket. Had nothing to do with me, but because body language is 60% of communication, so be real cognizant, just like you, Ben, what am I reading from your body language right now? Notice what, you guys take a peek at Ben, look at his body language, just for fun. It'll make him feel even more comfortable, right? Okay, but I've got to be able to look at that and give Ben some space. I can't get right up and say, hey, Ben, you and I, we're going out and having a couple of beers, okay? You get a discount at Winco, don't you? Grab a 6-pack of Lucky and some Velveeta, and we'll do beer and cheese tasting, okay? So I've got to be cognizant of that. 33% is tone and tempo. Now, for those of you that communicate on the phone, and remind me, I think it was you that who works on AP's, accounts payable? Alice, I assume you're on the phone a lot. Okay. I want you to change that number to 93% is tone and tempo. Because guess what they can't do on the phone, Alice? They can't see you. Okay. So did you hear what Alice said? The louder somebody gets on the phone, the softer we have to get. Okay, so the biggest thing I communicate with you on the phone with tone and tempo, number 1 is slow down, number 2 is take notes. Alice, that's awesome that you do that. Typically 90% of the people talk really fast on the phone, and they never listen to the other person. Talk, because they can't see them. So remember that for those of you that are on the phone a lot. Please write that down that you want to share with your team. 93% is tone and tempo, so we've got to slow down when we're on the phone. We've got to slow down. And the other part would be listen, because look, 7% of communication is the spoken word. So Laura, I have not even talked to you yet today, but there's some version of communication. Where you sit in the room, all those types, and we haven't even talked yet. But there's some version of communication. So keep that in mind, that when you're coaching or training or mentoring people in your building. Now remember, some of you go, well, can I coach and train my supervisor? Absolutely. My motto is he was the best boss, or she was the best boss that ever worked for me, because I talk to them in their language. Easier said than done. So I share those stats with you as we get in, and we're starting to get into why you guys hopefully came today, is the DISC personality types. Now the reason I put Dr. Marston up here was Cody in your, we'll call it the syllabus, discovered the DISC personality. Now the reason I like it is he came up with the system. He started out with the lie detector test. He's the guy that came up with the first version of the lie detector. And basically what DISC personality says is, in certain environments, this is how you behave. In certain environments, this is how you behave. And there's 2 environments, Christopher. There's one at home. So there's the Christopher at home. Do you have a family and kids? 3. So there's a certain way you are at home. As my daughter used to say to me, Well, Dad, you're all funny at home, and then at work, you're all serious. How come that is? Because at work, I have a different personality. So that's something that I want you guys to think about as we go through this. And I ask you the question, hey, what do you think your personality style is? Now, how many of you took, and it's not good or bad, it just gives me a feel, the assessment? I think Cody sent you a link and you took the assessment. Awesome. So I'm going to go through just one or two of the assessments just so you can see what those look like. But the reason I share this with you, it's the same where you work. 16% of the people you work with are dominant. And dominant's just like how it sounds. Somebody like Donald Trump, they're really loud and they have to win. Influencer is 41% of the people you work with. And the reason they're called influencers, they like to talk. The fact is, they love to talk. Today's a great day, but tomorrow's going to be even better. Now, some of you may be chuckling because you go, I am one of those. Or you might be saying, oh yeah, I know them. They carry on and on and on all day long. Okay? 21% is what we call the steady personality. Some of you in this room are what we call steady, is you don't get too high, you don't get too low. Typically that'd be somebody that's good in HR, payables, because you don't get too emotional, you don't get too up or down. Now, in your mind, you're having this great conversation, but we never know on the outside. I think it's Alice's, how do people relate, not relate, how do they identify their store? Is it like store 23, or I know when I train commercial tire, I go, hey, where do you work at? Store 31. Oh, that really helps me out. But in your case, Alice, they refer to as stores. So if store 21 says, hey, we've decided that we're not going to close out our till or whatever it is that matches there, we're not going to do that this month. And Alice would make sure she doesn't get no. We do that each month and that, or each day. And that slides into the compliance. So 22% are compliant. They follow the rules. So a quick question you can ask yourself is, am I a rule breaker? If you don't break rules and you always follow the rules and there's nothing wrong with that, pretty good chance that you're compliant. So let's see what these people look like so that you have a feel what they look like. So he's pretty easy, outspoken, and do you hear his tone and tempo? Because Brenda, what's he used to when he talks really loud like this and says, you're fired? What do people do? Oh, I'm sorry, they run in here. Okay. But if you think about when you're around a dominant, does anybody here know an individual? I think she works in HR, but her name's Chloe. Anybody work with Chloe? Do you, Ben? Just know of Chloe. So Chloe works at Winco, and her story was similar to yours, Kim, in, I don't like to talk in spaces, and there's an individual that she worked with that was dominant. And part of what we coached her was she had to speak up when she's around him. And it changed the whole dynamics because, do you remember the first slide I showed you, Matt, of those two brothers? Do you remember what the headline said? Yeah. People like people that are like them. So what your mission today is, when you're around dominant, what do you have to be like? You got to be like them. You've got to speak up. Their biggest fear is they're not going to win. So Alice, if I'm dominant and I come into your department, my biggest fear is I'm not going to get my bills paid. I got to vent, or it could be payroll, whatever it is, and I think everybody's going to take advantage of me. That's just how I am. I'm dominant. Influencers, their biggest fear is that you won't love them. Okay? You need to underline the word love. Now, Laura, I've seen you chuckle a couple of times on that. Would you say you're an influencer? Yeah. So it's important that we make sure that Laura knows we love her. Okay? Now, if you're compliant or steady, you're sitting here going, I am not going to tell Laura I love her. I don't even tell my wife that. Well, I do once a year, and it's on Valentine's Day. And it's in a card. Okay? But we have to acknowledge Laura. We tell, hey, Laura, I love those earrings. Where did you get those? Those are so awesome. Okay? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. But we want to let her know that we love her. Because her biggest fear is when she comes into your office or calls you on the phone, really isn't about solving the problem. Her biggest fear is whether or not you love her or not. And you might be thinking, well, Dave, I'm not here to love people. Well, here's the next thing I need you to write down. Being listened to and being loved are so close together, most people can't tell the difference. Being listened to and being loved are so close together, most people can't tell the difference. Laura does a nice thing on a phone call. When she talks to them, I think you said you send an email, a follow-up, what we talked about. That means you listen to me. Sounds like this. Just to make sure we're on the same page, Laura, it sounds like you like to communicate face-to-face. Right? Or she might say, oh no, Dave, you missed it. Actually, it's face-to-face at home in the office. It's just email. But Laura needs to make sure she knows I heard what she said. Let's look at the steady. Typically, we don't know what the steady personality is thinking. I use Condoleezza Rice. Some of you have birds. And I use a dove. If you notice, doves roaming across the road and they can't make up their mind. And then when they do, it's too late. Okay? Typically, steadies need three choices. So when you're working with steadies in your office, you give them three choices. And then you have to be quiet. Now notice, Christopher, with the dominants, we could talk and be loud and give them a big, heavy handshake. But with the steadies, we have to give them lots of space and be quiet. And for some of us, I'm not saying everybody, but just because Laura told me that you're an influencer, it's hard just to, well, we got to talk. Today's a great day. Tomorrow's going to be even better. Remember, steadies are stubborn, too. They won't tell you they're stubborn because they'll nod their head and they'll act interested. I ain't never doing this. So and I'll nod my head and act like I'll do it, but I ain't never doing this. And I'll tell Len I got good notes, but I ain't never doing this, okay? So give them three choices, and family is really important. Really important. This is my favorite snapshot for compliance. Morgan, does Spock have a lot of emotion? No emotion. It's about the facts. Okay? Now remember, influencer, it's about feelings. But if you're compliant, it's about the facts. So typically when I work with, and I kind of have an interesting relationship with Val. Anybody that went to college with in their HR, you can always hold something over their head, right? So, but it's important with Val that I communicate with her via email. I haven't talked to her in a long time, but it's always via email. I think we're going to lunch next week, so, but I had to book that. But she just wants the facts. Fascinating. Logical. Show them, don't tell them. Show them, don't tell them. So what I'm going to have you do now is go back into your groups. What do you think you are? Now, some of you have already had that chart, but just by visiting, now, Christopher, I'm going to feel like you're compliant and dominant. And the reason, now, I haven't spent any time with Christopher, I don't know, but your handshake was pretty dominant. But do you remember when I said, do you go by Chris? What did he say to me? Christopher follows the rule. Now, I don't know if that's the case or not, but that would be my feel. Ben, I would feel like you're steady, and the only reason I said that to you was, remember when I asked you, hey, why'd they hide the tractor behind the barn? Ben couldn't make up his mind because he wanted to give me the right answer. So I gave him three choices, and some of the body language was, now, Ben, I don't know if this is the case or not, but as a trainer, I've got to kind of keep an eye on what's going on because remember, it's important I communicate to you, Brenda, how you like to be communicated. You know, I don't come over and give you a big hug and go, Brenda, how you work for Abacay, that must be, now maybe that is your personality style, which I think it's more on the influencer, just based how when I came in, where you were standing, your colors, those type of things, and working with Abacay, and you're in communications and marketing, right? So it's important I let Brenda know I love that she was here early and she met with everybody. Okay, but those are the type of things that I have to communicate. No different than Kim, and make sure everybody knows it's not Kimberly, it's Kim because she crossed it out. You made a mistake. It's Kim. Okay, what would that tell you? Could be, or compliant. No different than, remember what Christopher was. Not Chris, it's Christopher. You know, for me, I go, oh, that's kind of fun. I can't wait to be called David Burley, or whatever it is. Okay? I don't really, but I don't say, Kim, come up to the front of the room. I want you to do 5 minutes real quick. It'll be fun. It'll help you get out of your comfort zone. I have to communicate with Kim how she wants it. I give her space. I give her choices. But yet we still follow the rules. So if I'm on the phone, Kelsey, and remind me what department you're in, HR. Okay, so that's probably not a key, but if you had to deal with me in HR, Kelsey, I got to hire this guy, and he doesn't have a resume, and he's not going to do the drug testing, but he's really good. Help me get this thing through, would you? Let's get her done right now. Come on now, Kelsey. You know me. It's Dave. You can trust me. And Kelsey, we have to follow the rules. And I'm like, come on, Kelsey. You're always doing that. I have to communicate with Kelsey how she wants to be communicated. So it sounds like this. Kelsey, nobody's better in HR than you are. The fact is, you're the best HR person because of you follow the rules, everything that needs to be done. I'm a little lost here. Could you help me out? This gentleman doesn't have his resume yet. He's got all the other paperwork. Can you help me with the solution? And I'm on the phone, so I can't hear you. Kelsey, can you help me with the solution? Okay. And is there, if I came in, or could we help him with his resume? Or, Kelsey, if you were me, what would you do? Okay. So isn't that a lot? And Kelsey's thinking, well, they're recording this class, so I've got to say the right things in case somebody listens to this. But that being said, isn't that a better communication? So I can find out what I need to do versus, come on, Kelsey, you steal all the fun because you follow all the rules. But it's important Kelsey's compliant. But I have to talk to her in her language. Did you notice when I started out the second conversation, Laura, I said to her, she's the best at what she does. Because remember, compliant, their biggest fear is being criticized. Okay, it doesn't mean they want to know how it's done right. And for some of you steady and compliant, as you go through this, you're going to look at it and say, yeah, but I need to know this, and I need to see this, and I'm dominant. I'm like, hey, it just works, trust me. Okay, but that can't be how I train. I've got to train so the compliants know what they are doing. I got to make sure the influencers know, hey, when you're around compliance, they don't want to talk about what they're doing this weekend. And it's not because they don't like you. They just feel like that's none of your business. We train calling here, dialing strangers. And it was interesting, just yesterday we were doing a class in this room. And we always talk about the call ends when we say it's over. Because typically, if Jody, do you like it when you get a phone call at 8 o'clock at night saying, hello, I'm calling from safety something. We can put an alarm system in your house. You just have a conversation. So we might say something, Jody, I'm so sorry we called you. So, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Because we want the call to end. And this particular lady said, I am not talking to a stranger about what I'm doing this weekend, and hung up the phone. So it was good for us to realize that's compliance. So just spend a couple of minutes with the folks that you are with. What do you think that, so it would sound something like this. Okay, Morgan, I'm going to try to guess your personality, ask you some questions. So, Morgan, what did your parents teach you about money? Save up and spend cash. Are you what department do you work in? Where do you work? Meat manager. Do you break the rules sometimes? Bend them. Okay. So what does that tell me? He's probably not compliant, and that's okay. And I feel like just little things I look at. My guess is Dominant? A little bit dominant, yeah. Yeah, a little bit. I shaved my head today. You want to mess with me? Mine's natural, by the way, okay? But those are things that we pick up. So we make sure that we let Morgan know nobody's going to take advantage of him. And what's going to happen if he takes this class? He's going to win. Remember, compliance are right. Kelsey, you're right. Morgan's going to win. Now, some people go, well, are we just trying to pacify him? No. What we're doing is get to that level so it's Morgan and myself having a conversation, not my dad and his dad having a conversation. That's our mission. So that's what we're trying to do. So Laura, remind me your department that you're in. Okay. All right. Do you ever communicate with other people that aren't like you? Okay. So did you hear how Laura likes to communicate? Anybody pick that up? Face to face. Is there anybody that doesn't like to communicate face to face, would rather just have an email? Kelsey, would you rather have an email or you like face to face? Okay. So Kelsey's steady, right? Can't make up her mind. That's okay. How about you, Jody? How would you rather communicate? Okay. So you two have a great communication. You would be able to communicate face to face, but some people want all the facts and they want to see bullet point emails, what they look like, and then they're going to send you back this great big long email. But I'm dominant. Guess how long my emails are? They're in the subject line. That's where they are. People always think I'm mad at them when I send an email. Where the hell are you? Hey, is Dave mad at me? No, I just wonder where you are. Okay, so that's what we want to do. So the other piece you're going to write down before you go into this is no mind reading. No mind reading. Because I think that's, I don't know about you, Ben, but I'll get in the habit of, oh, I think Simba's mad at me. I can just tell he hasn't unzipped his jacket. Okay, but it's the craziest thing in the world, right? But we start thinking that, and it's not really the case. So I could ask Simba, what personality do you think you are? Okay. And that would be my guess. Simba has a black Jeep. Is that right? And notice, and I was looking, because I always look at people's vehicles. Simba's like, what were you looking at my vehicle for? You're breaking the rules. But as I looked at it, I was trying to see if there was any traits that would tell me his personality. Could be a personalized plate. I've seen Jeeps that are just, but it was pretty steady. It was clean. It's hard to keep black vehicles clean. But I noticed it was very clean, how it looked, and I just kind of thought, I wonder if Simba is steady. So you like three choices. So if I were to say, hey, you want to go to lunch? Where do you want to go? I don't care. Where do you want to go? So it would sound like this. Simba, would you like to go to lunch? Well, what time works for you? Okay. And now I'm going to give you three choices. Would you like to go to the Sonic? Would you like to go to Jakers? Or would you like to go to the Ram? And I'm going to let you think about it for a little bit, and I'm going to come back. Okay? So, Ben, what's important is no mind reading. Because remember, I thought Simba was mad at me because he didn't unzip his jacket. So we ask steady personality, tell me what you're thinking. And what does Simba tell me? I think I'm a steady. And in this case, Simba, where did you decide you want to go to lunch? Sonic. Pretty simple. Okay? So spend a couple of minutes with your newfound teammates. What personality? So what I'd like you to do, it sounds something like this. Kelsey, you're going to ask Matt, what personality do you think I am? So let's go ahead and role play. What do you think Kelsey is? Look at her body language right now. Okay. Yeah, follows the rules, steady, doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. Now, if I criticize, what's important is I don't criticize Kelsey, because if she feels criticism, she'll be angry. And she may not show it to me. She may just get quiet, something along that line. So I still want to keep her, remember what we talked about in the natural zone. Okay, Laura, go ahead. Sure. Stop doing that. Only do my stuff. I'm just easy. Okay. Okay. Yeah. 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 And real quick, Brenda, why do you think Laura just shared that with me? Well, could have been, but do you remember the word she used? She wants us to be what? Correct. And notice how I didn't say, Laura, what in the heck are you stealing my class for? And dang it, you be quiet. I tell Laura, you're absolutely right. She's correct. She is, because it's important. Now, back in the day, because I am an influencer, uh-oh, I screwed up. Laura doesn't love me. What did I do wrong? Uh-oh, I'm going to get marked down. No, because we need to communicate to people how they want to be communicated. And it's easy, I think, Laura, probably you see this in your coaching and training, to take stuff personal. It's easy to do that. But if you'll think about it, in this case, for compliance and steady, it's about facts, not feelings. The flip side, influencers and dominance, it's about feelings, not facts. Easier said than done, but that's what we want to think about. So if I'm working, but let's look at the two Lauras. It's kind of fun. You guys have the same, and I'm being correct. It's spelled exactly the same. So in Laura's case, it's about feelings. Your case, it's a combo, correct and that. So that's what's important. So when I deal with you two, you're similar personalities, but I'm going to use a little more love with Laura, a little more facts with you. So remember, two Lauras come into my office, and when I work with them, I don't just treat them like I treat all the Lauras the same way. I want to make we'll call you Laura 1. Laura 1, what does she like after a phone call? You remember, Brenda? Follow up. Okay. I'm guessing Laura 2 likes a thank you. I don't know if that's the case, but with Starbucks, $5 thank you card with a Starbucks, you bet, let's go! Right? So I have to make sure I communicate how people want to be communicated with. So remember, two Lauras, Laura 1, email with bullet points, we're on the same page. Laura 2, Laura, thanks for coming in. I love that. Hey, let's go to Starbucks sometime. And remember, they're all right. Nothing's wrong with how I communicate with 1 and 2. But the real question is, are we getting the message across? Because as Jody said, bad news isn't like wine. It doesn't get better with time. How come you didn't tell me this early on? Because I was afraid you'd be mad at me. Or whatever it is. So that's our real point where we want to get. Okay, let's do this. We'll spend 5 minutes discussion. And then we're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute break, too. I'll just let you guys do that. I know for some of you compliant, you might be going, well, the break isn't until 10:30. But it's just a quick one so you can stand up and stretch or whatever it might be. Because it gets real. I know my wife says, you think I'm going to listen to you for an hour? You're crazy. So that being said, so 5 minutes back and forth. So Simba, what do you think my personality is? Then you're going to do it back the other way. And then we'll rewind at 15 after. Okay? So just make sure you're back here at 15. Well, and I may be off on that. I may, but that. Started off with a quick video just for fun. Like my airplane pilot said the other day, hold on, I'm going to try something. Normally I wouldn't mind, but we're at 30,000 feet. So, all right, take a listen to this.
Nothing on purpose. We're going out for a minute. She was cool. I really liked her. I said no. I didn't know she was rude. I met her out. How would I know that? I said, no, I don't know this stuff. You're older. Been through a lot. You have a lot of experience. I think she'll be nice. I asked who to talk to, apologize for what she means to you. Did talk to? What did you do? A tweet? No, of course not. I like to text her. A billion times. She didn't answer. So then I emailed her. But it was like, it was a long one, well thought out. Subject line, I'm sorry, with like a ton of those. The sad emoticon where crying. I should probably talk to her. Can't imagine being hurt.
All right, so the question is, are you talking, and that's why I always like to ask that question, are you talking to your people? And I think that's it. Oh, sorry about that. We don't want to hear from you. Everybody's like, hey, we're going to watch a movie. Probably not. So, all right. If anybody has not seen that show, I highly recommend it. It's a good show. Yes. Start from the beginning. Okay, so I'm going to check in with you guys real quick on. So here's the reason I put this up is what is your shoe size? Now you might be saying, now wait a minute, the shoe size? We don't sell shoes at Waco. But real quick, and I'm going to ask the guys first because some ladies. So Ben, what size is your shoe? 10. He's thinking about it. I think it's a 10. What are my options? No, it's a 10. Okay. Matt, what's your shoe size? 10 and a half. Brenda? 6. So when Ben's talking to you, what's important, Ben, with your shoe size? Brenda's a 6. What are you working on? You don't walk up here and say, here, where are my 10s? Because what's that going to be like? No different than if Brenda comes up and says, here, where are my 6s? So the reason I use the shoe size as an analogy is I'm not telling any of you to change your shoe size. That's what shoe size you are. Mine happen to be 14s, okay? So my dad always says, if your shoes were smaller, you'd be a lot taller. I agree with him, but I'd tip over. But that being said, I want you guys to focus on this. All we're discovering today is our shoe size. I don't want you to change your shoe size, but I do, Ben, in your case, I want you to acknowledge that Brenda has a size 6, so I've got to change just a little bit. So you're a psychiatrist, as I told the two of you, performing a Broadway play. So the next step is going to be we're going to take a quick look at some of your personalities so you can just see how these, and I got to make sure nobody's name's on here just in case you don't want me to see it. Or maybe it is on there. It looks like it's. Is Morgan in here? Maybe that's not Morgan. Okay. So real quick, Simba, to this point, what's been your takeaway? Okay, absolutely, because we don't want it to get lost in translation. And our point is to tell them, because when you talk, and some of you will hear this later on when I work with you on having meetings and stuff like that, 4 things happen when you talk to your teammates. Number 1, Brenda, is the message you want to get across. So number 1 is, Brenda, here's what I want to say. Number 2, Brenda, is what you really say. Okay, so Paul, in this case, she wanted to say this. Here's what she really said. Number 3, Jacobs, what I heard her say. Okay, number 3 is what I heard her say. And number 4 is what they tell other people you said. So here's what it would sound like is, I got to make sure that I left this on, so if you guys go back and listen to the class, go, Dave's a lot better when I can't hear him. I started Bob FM. I don't know if any of you listen to the radio station, but I brought Bob FM to town about 2007, and I used to do commercials about these great donuts. So every Thursday I would bring donuts to work. So in October, Claudia sits on the heart board, my wife, and she said, hey, for the month of October, can we just do celery and carrots and healthy stuff? I'm like, now remember, I'm a high D. Yeah, whatever. So what I wanted to tell everybody, for a month, we're going to do carrots and healthy stuff because Claudia's on a health board. What I really said is there's not going to be Donut Thursday for this month. They heard me say, Dave's cheap. That's what they heard me say. And they told others, he's cut the donuts. I wonder what's next. I heard we're going under. Okay? So remember how stuff gets lost in translation. Back to what Simba said, is what you want to say, what you really said, what they heard you say, and then what they tell others. So that's kind of our mission here, is to communicate to people how they want to be communicated with. Paul, we haven't talked too much. By the way, I've worked with Paul just a little tiny bit. Paul, remind me where you're working? Lube Technology. And if we were to recommend, if everybody needed lube technology, if we were to recommend you to someone, what would we tell them? Oh, okay. Perfect. All right. Paul, what's been your takeaway to this point? Okay. Now, I happen to know Paul's very detailed. Detailed. I'm not very detailed. So Paul will send me an email and say, oh, look at this. Well, no, I need detail. So it's important when I communicate. Is that correct, Paul? You like details? Details. Let's slide over to Laura, number 2. Now, Laura, the reason I'm calling you number 2 is not that you're number 2. You're still 1 in my heart, and I love you. What's been your takeaway? And I want to remind you, Laura, especially you, no mind reading. Okay, no mind reading, because your biggest fear is what? Love. Okay, but remember, in some cases, they're like, love's not even a factor for them. It is for you, but it's not for them. Casey, how about for you, your takeaway? So remember, and I want to make sure everybody, if it's a form of termination or correction, it's not I'm trying to make it easy for you. I just want to make sure it's crystal clear what I'm communicating to you. And in some cases, I have to do it in your language. In Laura's case, I tell her I love her, but this is called tough love. In Kelsey's case, I'm going to give her the facts. First, I'm going to give you a verbal, then a written, then it's going to be taken out of my hands. The facts. So I'm not telling any of you to, so make sure you're not hearing, especially the few D's we have in this room. Well, what are you telling me? I'm just telling you, it's still the message. We just have to communicate in their language so they hear what you're saying. Because a lot of times we hear stuff that's never been said before. Let's take a quick look at this graph. So this is somebody, I assume, in here. So if I look at this person's dominant. Now remember these first colors, and I don't know if you guys have your charts or not, but this would be considered your natural. This is at home, okay? So this is how you are at home, and this is how you are at work, these darker pieces along this line, okay? So I've taken a couple here just to highlight so you can see the case here. This particular person is compliant and steady, very compliant and steady, still a little bit of influencer, but not very dominant here. So when I communicate with this person, When I communicate with them, I want to make sure that I follow the rules, I give them choices, and I don't have a bunch of emotion involved in it. Okay? Because if, in your case, Christopher, with this person, if you start talking in your high D, what do you think it does to these two? Yeah, it paralyzes. Because remember, steady, their biggest fear is a confrontation. For us D's, we love confrontation. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Let's go out afterwards. They're like, are you two mad? Oh, that's how we love each other. So we've got to be careful if we happen to be a dominant when we're communicating with these to keep our voice low and how we communicate. The fact is, they may not even want us to communicate. They want us to send them an email. Okay? Now, the reason I show you this one is how this person changes a little bit under pressure. So this is their natural spot, is they're compliant. So naturally they're compliant and they're an influence. Look what happens under pressure. Okay? They're not going to probably follow the rules as much, and they're going to come up here and try to make everybody happy. Okay? See how that works is under pressure. Look where the compliant goes all the way. Hey, at home, we follow the rules and we do this and that. And then at work, somebody, hey, get to work. Whatever you want me to do. Okay, whatever has to happen on that side. So that's, as you look at these charts, and I'm happy to work with you a little bit on these pieces, but it's just to give you a snapshot of your shoe size. Now, a lot of times, steadies and compliance will go things, that thing's wrong. I got to retake that test. Oh, I guess, so Laura, is this you? Okay, all right. So I hope that's okay. I didn't even, I'm D, I didn't notice that. So Laura, in this case, you are an influencer, but you're very compliant, but under pressure, it's important to remember, you still, make sure you still keep track of the rules on that end. Now, if I happen to be your supervisor, let's just pretend I am, I want to make sure I give you lots of love, okay? And this is a ton of potential over here. I look at this for, you're not afraid to make decisions. You can be bold. But again, under pressure, you kind of let the rules kind of slip away because you're fearful that what? Look how this goes up under pressure. Fearful they won't love me. Okay? But that's okay. You're taking a snapshot of you. So when you're around, so let's just pretend you're around compliance. They don't want this to happen. Because think about compliance. They're all the way up here. And a lot of times the influencer's down here, so you're trying to love the heck out of them, and they want the rules, and you're like, we don't need rules, we just need love. So just be cognizant of that in your mind. It's just a good reminder. Okay? So they're just some interesting pieces to look at it. Okay? So that's kind of how these match up. So let me see what my next slide is here. Just see, I think this is a good place to take a break. Jody asked me a great question. She said, so Dave, how can you look at people and read them and that kind of stuff? It just takes practice. So Ben, the kind of my assignment to you is going to be, so do you have a significant other? Okay. And I know I'm going to ask you a trick question, but what's their name? Okay. I didn't know if you were going to go, it's Lene. I'm just teasing Ben. I think he's awesome. So what would you guess Lene's personality? Let me give you three choices. Dominant, steady, or an influencer. Steady, okay. So you two, what happens when you guys are trying to pick where to go out to eat? Probably just never go anywhere, right? Yeah, I can imagine that, okay. So I would challenge you to practice on her. Okay, but she won't. Oh, she'll love that. Oh, so she's a little bit of an influencer. Awesome. So Ben, if you guys are to go out this weekend, I want you to give her three choices. Now it's going to be hard for you to pick three choices, but that being said, you're going to pick three choices and that's what I want you guys to do. Because back to what Jody said, how do you work on this? Is we practice on family. We practice when we go to the Starbucks. We practice around here. I just have to take a snapshot of this vehicle. Paul, I also train looking at vehicles and determining personalities. So, Kelsey, what would you guess this person's personality is? Yeah. I mean, boss man, and look at the hitch and all that kind of stuff. So you're just going to start looking at little things. And Simba, it wasn't like I went, oh, I'm going to, it's just a natural habit of mine. Yeah, yeah, sure they are. And you got to be careful because steadies are like, did you look in the car? Do you know the combination? But it just becomes habit that we start looking at that because it helps us communicate. So when I deal with boss man, guess what I call him, Morgan? I call him boss man. Hey, boss man, how you doing today? Love that truck. When are we going to take it out? You know, and look, just there's certain things, Paul, you'll like this. Now, Paul's rig wouldn't look like, I'll fix it when I get a chance. I just had a pair of pliers and it's good. Hitch works whenever. No big compliance wouldn't necessarily look like that. So one of the assignments, and I've shared this already with Jody, you'll see it, is you're going to go around cubicles or workspaces of your colleagues and try to determine what their personality is. Okay, you're going to just look at that. And you'll probably have a good feel. But dominance, Jody, remind me what I said dominance have in their workspace. Yeah, it's called a diploma or something like that. So, yeah, they'll have where they went to school, all those pictures. You don't have to guess what they like or what they do. Shoot, there might even be a big elk up there. Who knows? Okay? Influencers, especially when it's party time, there's going to be hearts up and they're going to do all these cool things and stuff like this. Steadies and compliance might have one picture. Might have one picture up, but there's going to be a lot of charts. The desk is going to be clean. And I think, Casey, what would your desk look like? Do you have a ton of pictures and an LCAD, I bet? No. Okay. I heard Casey go, mine looks like that. Nothing. So what's important is when I communicate with Casey, I'm going to ask the question, how would you like to be communicated? Okay. And I'm just going to play a quick snapshot, and then we'll bust out of here, or however long you guys want to go. Okay, so here's what it sounds like when I interview people for companies. And one of the questions I ask them is, how would you like to be communicated with? Brenda, how do you like to be coached and mentored? Because think of how Brenda, now Brenda, are you an influencer? Okay, so a little bit of everything, but probably would influencer be more where you hang out? So it's important with Brenda. I'm like, come on, Brenda, we can do it. Let's go do it together, a lot of that type of stuff. But Brenda, I can't assume that other people I work with want to be coached and mentored the same way. So I always ask the question, and this might be good practice for you. This is what it sounds like. How do you like to be coached, or how do you like to be managed?
I'm pretty direct. That's kind of where I think I do best. I'm pretty direct. And I think dealing with people, you have to be always nice.
So I'm going to pause it real quick. Did you hear what she said? I'm always direct. So you might think she's dominant, but at the end, did you hear what she said? Play that aloud so everybody can hear. You have to be nice. Well, there's a little bit of influencer there. Because true dominance, you don't have to be nice to anybody. Look at Donald Trump, right? I ain't going to be nice to anybody. I will later on, but so we have to pick up that nice. You must be telling me nice for a reason. But we always ask people, how do they want, how many of you coach, mentor, or supervise any people? Do any of you guys do that? Yeah. I think all of us do in some regards. Even if it's a colleague, how do I coach them up to pick up their tempo just a little bit? Okay. Let's just listen to one more of these.
How about your manager or your supervisor? How do you want them to coach, train, or mentor?
I prefer direct. If I'm doing something wrong, I want to be called on it so that I can fix it. I don't believe that when you're working for a company, doing the habit forward. And if you're not doing that, then if you're like, hey, you need to do this. Then you need to fix it.
Do you like to be coached? Do you like to be mentored? Here's a better question. How do you like to be managed?
I know with several different styles. I'm a hands-on learner, so I'm best if you just throw me in and you tell me what I'm doing and kind of throw me to the wolves, I guess.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pause that, Paul. I'm going to have you turn the lights on. So I just want you to listen to little things. Throw me to the wolves. What's that mean? They could be dominant. Did you hear several different things? But clarify, clarify. So the first thing you might do when you go back to your team and you can blame me, hey, Jody, I went, Len sent me to a goofy class. And Jody, do you care if I practice on you? Okay. Jody, how do you like to be managed? Or maybe a better question is, how do you like to be motivated? Okay. Now, Jody, one of my concerns has been in the office place, and we made up a saying. It was called, bad news doesn't get better. It's not like wine with time. I think that's how he said it. Anyhow, Jody, how do you think, do you have any ideas how we can, sometimes little things around here turn into I'm trying to think of the words. What do you think they turn into, Jody, little things? Okay, you're perfect, a disaster. What do you think we could do so if a little thing comes up? Because my fear is, I don't know about you, but I read people's minds, so I think I might get in trouble. What are some ideas you might have? Okay. So that might be the discussion. What did you notice about Jody's tone and tempo as we were talking? Any of you guys pick that up? Brenda, what'd you think her tempo was? Pretty steady, but she was moving along pretty quick. So my only coaching to you, Jody, would be, I assume that's the same personality. I want you to just slow down a little bit, because it's not intimidating to me because I'm a D, but it might be to your team because Jody talks so fast and she speaks up, it scares the heck out of me. And you're like, I'm just being direct and to the point. So that would be something I'd say, Jody, just slow down a little bit. Okay? Doesn't intimidate me or bother me, but it might a steadier complaint. They might think Jody's mad because she's having a meeting and she's talking loud. Okay? All right, let's check in with Matt. Matt, what's been your takeaway to this point? Okay. And Matt, that sounds good. That's awesome. How are you going to do that? Okay. Yeah, I like that. And a fail-safe is just to ask them, hey, Kelsey, how do you like to be communicated with? I took this class today, and one of the things, and I hope that's okay I ask you, Kelsey, how do you like to be? Okay. Excellent feedback. What did we hear her say? Exact. Did you hear her use the word exact? What's that tell me? Compliant. Bullet point, she wants exact what it is, wants some feedback immediately, but did you hear the other side? I want you to, what was it you said about the blow or soften the blow? Because what's her biggest fear? I don't know that, but I'm hearing that, but we want to make sure that we have that conversation. So excellent feedback. And Matt, what I would say is, yeah, this is all great, but it's like anything. Hey, that class was really fun. Dave taught. What'd you learn? Oh, a lot of neat stuff. Okay. All right, let's get back to work. You've got to take one thing and put it into action right away. That's why I had Abasay come, Brenda, because he would always go back and put one thing into action right away. What's been your takeaway to this point? Okay, excellent feedback. Morgan, how about from the meat department? Because, by the way, do you ever run into customers? Oh, do you think this would work with customers? Oh, so now all of a sudden we're talking, because some customers don't want, hey, can I help you? What would you like me to cut up for you? Whoa, 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 whoa. They want exact. Some of them want that. But you've got an excellent opportunity to practice on customers because you get to see how are they dressed. Because you always know when they need help, right? Can I help you, sir? Oh, no, well, I mean, maybe you could. I've never cooked. So you know who that person is. Okay. So what are you going to take away to the meat department at this point? Right. So what are you going to have to be like around him, Morgan? Yeah, you're going to have to speak up and let him know, hey, I don't know about you, but I don't like anybody taking advantage of me. Now, some of you steadies, we're not having a fight. It's role play, just letting you know. I don't know about you, but I don't want anybody taking advantage of me. That's why, and we'll use Bill to protect him. Bill, that's why I want to set this up so you win. And then, because your mission is back to, and you made an excellent point, Alice, when we first started, as they get louder on the phone, what do? It's softer. So you start out loud, but your mission is to lower the temperature so your dad's not talking to his dad. Because I'm assuming his dad said, look, we'll kick some people's butt and then we'll figure out what's going on. Now you want to talk in his personality and go from there. So that's kind of our mission. Some of you know my dad, is that right? Okay, so let's do this. Be back here at 10 till, so you've got a full break if that's okay. And then we'll punch into this a little bit more. But now we're going to get into your action steps. I'm available if there's some. So for some of you steadies in compliance, it's okay to come up and ask me a question. They're not dumb questions. I do have a habit of talking really fast. It's like, Dave, you hit me with a whole bunch of information. And then I do have permission to. Last time somebody asked if they could buy my book, but the book's called Dialing Strangers. And this isn't to tell you to go buy it. Please buy it. My son's a senior. No, I'm just kidding. But it's on Amazon.com, Dialing Strangers. But it goes through the disc personalities, tone and tempo in there if you want to look at that. Now remember, there's plenty of stuff you can just get online out of that. But we'll talk about that more later on. I think online it's $19. If you want to get it from us, it's like $10. If you want to get that Dialing for Strangers. If not, don't worry about it. I probably will make you speak in the front of the class, something along that line. Let's just check in 2 more takeaways. Alejandro, what would your takeaway be this point? Excellent point. Good. Yeah, because think of the 4 personalities. The D thinks you're going to take advantage of them. The influencer's trying to please you. Oh, Alejandro, what can I do? I'm going to grow one. How do you do that, Alejandro? I don't even shave yet. How can I? Yeah, absolutely. I got to go to Zamzo's. The steadies want 3 choices. And then the compliance, they really don't want to have a discussion with you. Play back, Kelsey, what is it you like to know? Hear that? Exactly what they're doing. And then if there is some version of, I hate to say correction or anything, please soften the blow, whatever that might be, or use that as a takeaway. All right, Alice, I'm going to check in with you. What would your takeaway be to this point? Practice at home, too. Do you have kids, significant other? Okay, all right. And it's, we can get even more in depth in this Jody, but we look at firstborn. Okay, so the firstborn typically are dominants, all that type of stuff that goes involved. But your oldest, her or his name? Ben. What's Ben's personality? Okay, steady. So what are you going to work with when you talk to Ben? Okay. So that's okay because Ben doesn't need. Yeah. Sure. And does that ever happen in the workplace? All the time. So let's just use Ben. I want you to be more on a mission with Ben. I don't want to use the word wishy-washy, but give him three choices and just see how that works. You might find yourself talking to him a lot more. Yeah, just for a shot, okay? And him, just because you're close, I kind of talked to you, but we haven't talked out loud. What's been your takeaway? Perfect. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Remember when you coach her up, though, you're telling me these things because you want her to do what? Help her out. What a dominance. What do we want her to do? You want her to win. If you're a lot like her, you don't want anybody taking advantage of her. If you go in and say, you need to slow down this and that. How come? I've been doing this. So, and then you're going to have to speak up. So I really appreciate what Kim did. Hopefully you're picking one or two people that you work with. And it may not be a challenge. It may be, man, if I just get them to come out of their shell or whatever it is. So take advantage of that. All right, so be back here at 5 to 11 if that works out okay. And I'll see you at 5 till. That gives you plenty of time if you want to walk over. Simba's going to buy me lunch at the Sonic, so that's plenty of time. Yes, sir.
That's mine.
Okay. Okay, so interestingly enough, so we'd look at this. This probably, yeah, this would be home. That'd be how you hang out at home. This would be some version of work, something along that lines. You're pretty good at communication, it looks like. Okay, so you're pretty across the board, and probably the biggest thing is that I notice at work you're pretty darn decisive. Is that the case? Yeah, you follow the rules.
Follow the rules.
Right, but you follow the rules, but there's not a lot of gray area with you. Yeah, you don't. So if I ask you a question, you don't go. Kind of like when we were working with it. Yeah, so you know what goes on with that stuff. So probably the only. Yeah. Yeah. So this is interesting. Yeah. So this just shows you're a little more steady, and it might be how it comes across to me. I'm going to use the word quiet, and I might read into it that you're dominant just because you and I haven't spent a lot of time around, just because you're tall, physical, big hand. So I might take that as dominant, but in your case, that's part of following the rules. I take good care of myself, firm handshake. That's always what I taught. So that might be the case. Okay. So yeah, absolutely. But be careful. The only thing I would tell you at work is there might be some people that aren't decisive like you. So work on giving them three choices. Because see, you're like, we follow the rule. Yeah. Yeah. So work on that three choices for them if you can. Okay? You bet. Right? Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, 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 right. Well, and go back to where when you're at Meridian Automotive, they were trained. Now, I'm not saying they did this, but what they should be trained to do is on each chart, the service writers should be writing, I think they're an I think they're a D. So that's where you would get, no, it didn't get done because for obvious reasons. But that being said, that's where I'd take it from there, and then you would determine what's the D direct mail look like. What's the now the influencer's easy, right? It's going to have hearts or their name on it, right? And then the steadies, here's you'd put 3 coupons on that, good, better, best, and the compliance just the facts. You probably wouldn't put a lot of stuff about there. You just put to the residents of, yep, details. Yeah. So if you could build something like that, it'd be outstanding. I'm going to show in the training today, I'm going to show you emails, just kind of how to read emails. But I don't think I've ever come across anybody, who I work with it right now, heating and air conditioning. Jeff Cox does about a million and a half in direct mail. And that's probably something I may discuss with him is we're sending the same message to everybody. But remember, D's only want one line. Change your oil now. They don't want all this because you're like, what the hell? Yeah, and think about when you build stuff, just by nature of your personality, you're compliant. You want to get as much stuff in there as you can. So yeah, I think I would just kind of brainstorm that and say, at the front desk, if we can find out what their personality. Now, when you're just doing hot zips, you're just sending out the zip codes. You don't know their personality. But when you're using your CRM, I would certainly communicate to their personality style because think of the message here that you're going to send Laura 2 that's sitting by you. You're going to put hearts and say, ooh, we'd love to see you. Laura 1, you're going to have 3 bullet points in there of good, better, best. Sure it will. Because here's the great thing. I mean, nobody. That was some HR stuff I didn't want anybody to hear. All right, if you're just joining us, we've been following all the rules. Okay. So the good news is Len didn't hear any of that. So I want you guys to go through those particular pieces. So just spend a couple of minutes now with the three people. Okay, three people in your department. What's their personality? So in this case, Len, I feel like I have to read his mind. Here's what I'm going to try. I've got to be bold, but you need to practice. Is there anybody here that works in your department? Nobody's here? Okay. You guys work near you? Does anybody know where Kelsey works or anything? No? I wonder if Kelsey sat by herself. Well, so Kelsey, before you go, you can practice on me one more time, okay? Because we want her to be able to practice this, because the worst time to think of it is when it comes out of your mouth. Okay, Lan, how's this go? You're not like me. You want to take advantage of me, and you make me mad because you only want to win. That's not going to work, okay? So we want to practice those pieces, all right? So what right now is your biggest challenge, and what are you going to try? What are you going to try to help them out? What are you going to try? I'm going to pause you here. I just got an email from my daughter. It was a text, and just showing her what an influencer is. Love you, Dad. Thanks for being you and encouraging me to step up my greatness. Now, the only reason I share that with you, I'll get 2 or 3 of those today. But what's important that I do, I've got to respond back. So remember, if you have employees like this, because their biggest fear is you don't love them. Now, I was going to put my son's text up, but I left him a voicemail this morning about what I remember I shared with you, the one thing I want him to focus. He goes, why did I get a call from you? Notice I put tone and tempo in it, but he wants to know, why did I get a call from you? So it's important that you acknowledge all of these in their personality. Because the worst thing that could happen is, think about this, Jody, if I didn't respond to this. Now, my sons, I don't have to respond. It's compliant. He just wanted to make a statement. But my daughter needs to make sure, and we have this thing called 143. So I'll just say 143 means I love you. But then to be able to talk in her language. Now, the flip side is I asked my wife, why don't you ever call me or text me? Well, why do you want me to call or text you? I'm busy. But those are pieces to think about. Thanks, Paul. Go ahead and continue back. Rodriguez leaving?
Here, let me hold him real quick for you. Oh, no, no.
Don't get on his shirt. Don't get on his shirt. Don't do that. Hang it out.
How you doing, Pally? Yeah. So you're getting ready to come in, right? All right, we're just wrapping up. They're doing their final homework. You always like my voice. Do anything that's funny? What's that funny? Yeah. Giggly Pete. He likes Giggly Pete. Yeah. You're used to me talking when you were in your mom's tummy. Hear me, you know. Now listen, Cody. 10 seconds of insane courage. Well, tell your kids I'm so humble. Thank you so much. Yes. You guys feel like you can talk out loud, that's okay if you don't have to. You're not breaking rules by talking. It's okay. All right. All right. So what's going to happen is Barb's going to come in. I'll probably, when we get to quarter till, I'll let you just take a quick break if you need to, and then Barb will give you your final details. The biggest thing is to make sure you take action. One piece, and that's what I would encourage you, is just one piece. We went through, Simba, we went through a ton of stuff today. But if you just say, hey, there's one thing. So that's what I want you to think about. Paul, will you ping that one more time? So in this case, what I want to do at work is Dave is a D. He's got pictures in his cubicle, email and text. That's what I've been doing to Dave. That's how I've been communicating with him. His email and text. What I need to do is speak up and speak direct. That's a good example for you, Kelsey. So you're working with Len. He's a D. I feel like I got to read his mind because you want to do the right thing. So you're busy. Was that the right thing? Was that the right thing? So your action step's going to speak up, speak direct, but your mission is to communicate what you want to have happen. I'm not telling you to be a D, but 10 seconds of insane courage will change your life. 10 seconds of insane. And you do it in front of me, you do it in front of anybody. Okay? I've already done it once. It'll be easy in front of Len. So what are your 3 action steps? So this was my action step today. I went over to Dave. He's a D. I noticed the pictures in his cubicle. I'm going to acknowledge those. I have been communicating with him via email and text. What I'm going to do now. So the personality style of this person at work. What I will take notice of, what isn't working, and what it is I will try. Now you got to be careful when I say try because I got on the Slim Fast diet and I tried it, but I put Oreos in it. It tasted a lot better, but it did not work. So I'm letting you guys know when you try stuff, you've got to be committed. It takes 27 days to build a habit, but it will change the dynamics. I think the easiest way, Alice, to get into this process, though, is practice on someone at home and see how that is. And then whether you go to the Starbucks or even at your stores, notice whether it's the checkers, are they influencers, are they steady, are they compliant? And I always look at little things, their name tag, their vehicle, could be a number of things, their handshake. But I just become more noticing now of how people want to be communicated with. Now, sometimes, Jody, I get it wrong, but people appreciate that I'm trying, and that's what you'll notice with your group. So this is what I want to see. What is your action step? So it doesn't necessarily need to be at work, but I want you to write down 3 action steps and then circle number 1. So I'm going to come around. I'm just going to have you speak it out loud. So here's 3 things I took away from today. Kelsey, yours might be, I'm really going to work on the D. Christopher's, yours might be, oh, still couldn't do it. I'm going to work on the 7-second rule. So his is going to be, I'm going to work on the 7-second rule. Okay? Alice, yours might be, okay, I'm going to act like I'm interested in the 10-mile or in the Broadway Bridge. Okay? Yeah. So remember, yeah. But that's okay. Remember, she's a psychiatrist doing a Broadway play. Now, Alice, remember, if they say, hey, let's get right to it, then get right to it. But the flip side, yeah, you'll go, oh, good. I don't want store 7. All they want to do is talk. Okay. Where's store 7, by the way? That's what I thought. Okay. All the Eureka guys, they just like to talk. And notice how these guys know exactly where the store now. I'm like, oh, I thought that was the one in Meridian. No, I'm just kidding. So that being said, just pull, and then you're going to just circle one of your action steps. What's the one action step? Okay. Just take it. So you're going to basically, you're taking 3. What are your 3 takeaways, Morgan? So today I have 3 takeaways, and this is the one that's going to Morgan's meat shop. This is what's going to happen. And as you guys are writing, I'm not sure when my next class is that I train, but it's about every 3 months. But if you ever have any questions for me, real easy. It's askdavetester.com. It works good because you can, hey, I didn't want to ask him in class or whatever. My wife just dropped by, so here's what the book looks like. It's called Dialing Strangers. If you want to grab one of those, great. Either go to Amazon or tell me here, and then I'll just make sure they're here next time you guys come. But it does go through. Now, make sure when you get the book, this is about talking to people on the phone, and each chapter has something about personality. So I don't want you to go, hey, I got the book, and it taught me how to talk about on the phone, not doing this stuff, but it just reinforces what we've talked about, reinforces. And then, of course, Cody has all the elements that goes with that. Scott, and then I saved the best for last with Barb, is going to talk to you a little bit about your action step. But let's go ahead and, Paul, I'm going to have you turn on the light. And this is just more, not that Ben, I'm going to come back and go, you said that last week, but if you write it down and you verbalize it, it's got roughly 150% more chance of coming true than just thinking about it. So what's the one thing, your one action step that you're going to take? And notice I asked my steady first, but he had 3 choices. So Ben, what's your one action step? How are you going to do that? Now remember, you're not a doormat. That's your personality stuff. So remember, that's not, so make sure nobody says, oh, an S is or a D is better. Because the flip side of this is I get that, well, Dave, your way is not the right way. Well, who said? So that's also what I want you to embrace your personality. I want you to embrace that. However, when I'm around dominance, I'm just going to speak up a little bit. And then if they get talking too loud and you feel uncomfortable, hey, Ben, did I do something to offend you? That just lowers the temperature. Okay? But always remember, certainly you're not a doormat. You're a smart individual. You're just enhancing a couple of things to make you be more effective. More importantly, to make the people around you more effective, I would say. Alice, what did you put down? All right? Yeah. And it can be something as simple as, hey, Alice, what'd you do this weekend? If you'd like to share it. A quilt. Nice. What's that for? Okay. So notice where we're going with this. It's a friend. It's none of your business. However, if we did, and that's okay, but that's how we discover, and that's okay. With Alice, we're going to stick with the facts. That's okay. Laura, number 2, what's your takeaway? Perfect. You and Christopher can practice on this 7 Saturday. All right. What are you going to do this weekend? And please don't look at Alice. I was okay. And anything in particular? Okay. All right. Very good. Paul, how about for you today? Great. Yeah. Well, let's go back to the question we asked Laura. Laura, how do you like to be communicated with? Face to face is kind of, Laura. So in some cases, Paul, you like email. I know this for a fact. You might have to get the yellow pad and go, Laura, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Sure. I'm just saying if you want them to respond to you, you're going to have to ask them how they want to be communicated with. I don't disagree with you that they're out, but it may just be a phone call. Sure.